Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV podcast. This episode, I'm tired. So we're just gonna answer questions in the chat. We've already had some topics brought up in pre-show that I'm sure we'll be getting back to here, but it's gonna be a shorter episode, so apologies for that in advance. There just isn't a whole lot to talk about this week. Regardless, the show must go on, so I am one of your hosts, Michael Mr. Happy Poveromo, and then we have the man with all the nicknames, although I'm too tired to make a new one for him this episode.
Hooray!
We got Slyh, aka Slythefox, aka Slyh, aka Greyfox, aka you my boy Blue. How you doing?
I'm actually here. I wasn't even supposed to be here, but she's back.
She's back. She's back. For those who don't know, and I'm sure all of you do, Slyh had some very difficult computer problems, and I'm in space, so I'm sure that's gonna come up at some point. But I'm glad that you got it fixed like today.
Today, yeah, it was in the process, but it was ready this morning, so all I had to do is just pick it up.
All right, thank goodness, because
good lord,
guys, just as a thing, other than the episode where Slyh and I were both not on, Slyh has been on the most episodes of State of the Realm because he had to cover twice in a row.
I've been in like every episode besides the couples episode.
Yeah, which I wasn't in as well. Although we were both hanging around, so
we were in the chat, so technically we were there. But yeah, I've been on every episode. I've been there. Can you say that I'm kind of like Death in Texas because you can count on me?
And that joke would have been relevant like 4 months ago, but it's not.
I know. God damn it, it's too late. Fuck.
So let's just be upfront with all of you. We already have been. We ain't got shit.
We ain't got shit.
I mean, we had the 14-hour broadcast for the episode before this, and all that's happened since then is the Rising event, which I haven't even done, so we can't talk about. And even if we could, in case there's anyone in the chat, like, that's probably going to be off limits until we start talking more about 3.1 with the information coming out of TGS. And then we had the letter from the producer 56, which is just the ones he writes on the forums, where he basically just congratulated Elysium and Lucrezia on their kills, and that's it. Like, nothing too fancy, other than the fact that apparently they were really excited to hear people cry about winning. So they like the nerd screams as much as everyone else, apparently. That's so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a shorter episode tonight where Slyh and I'm already making the mistake where I point in the wrong direction, Slyh.
You do it every time.
New location. Same. You know what?
Every time.
You know what? I'm gonna solve this problem right now. I'm gonna solve it right now. I'm putting your camera over this way. So now, you know what I could have done? I could have just flipped my camera horizontally. I would have never messed it up again. It was probably the right idea. Anyway.
Mirror it, man.
Yeah, so we're going to be just taking questions from the chat, pretty much Final Fantasy XIV related. Let's keep it on topic so that way we can have some hopefully meaningful discussions. We're also going to be accepting tweets. You just have to tweet at DreamNetTV with the hashtag SOTR. Yes, SOTR. And we'll be going through your questions. Slyh and I, we're going to alternate pretty much. I think that's the best way. I think that's the fairest way to do it. Yep. Slyh. All right, so how about this? How about you go first?
Why do you always pick? Always pick me to go first.
I just did the whole intro, Slyh. You really want me to keep going?
Like I never done the intro.
Slyh, I've been talking the whole episode. I'm just trying to make sure that you. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure you do something.
Fine. Damn.
All right. Damn. So you can pull from either source.
Yes, I will start from Twitter. Jim Link, what is up? He asked, What is the best way to tell your FC/static that you may want to change your main job soon? And what would you do to catch up eye level? A lot of that is going to be time away from raid, doing whatnot. Your static or FC, depending on what you use to raid, may help you, depending. You just have to ask them, use your words. But most of the time, the composition is pretty set in stone. So it can be difficult with some groups. Some groups are understanding and they will accommodate. I think that's kind of the minority, but some. Some it's pretty much out of necessity because there are in every group there's a lot of moving parts. And for example, my group, We had a lot of moving parts in A1 because a few people were missing, and then our ninja had to switch to Bard, and he's been in Bard ever since. We just got our A2 clear last night, and he was in Bard, so he's gonna stick it out with Bard. Like I said, it depends on whether it's you who. It really depends on whether it's you who wants to change yourself, or pretty much it's a group need. So you kind of had to weigh those options, like self before group, group before self, yada yada yada. Hap, what do you think?
I mean, it's mostly the same. Like you said, it's very hard to tell a static you want to do something else. It's easier if it's at least within your role. Like, let's say you wanted to go from playing White Mage to Astro. Like, that's, now that with the buffs, that's a possibility. Yeah. Or you wanted to go from playing Paladin to Dark Knight, or Dark Knight back to Paladin. At least you're staying within your role. Mm-hmm. The problem is when you want to move from, like, being a tank to being a healer or being a DPS, which happens a lot, and it almost ends up requiring a new static from my experience. Like, every time I see someone who literally wants to change it, they almost always just end with a new static in the end. I don't really know a way around it. I'd say it's easier to change mains if you happen to have two of the same job in your static currently. Like, if you're running double Bard and one of those Bards wants to change, unless he wants to change to something else that's double, which is, then it doesn't matter anyway because you're already running doubles.
Right.
It can be pretty hard. It can be really, really hard to do that. You just gotta approach them.
Sorry. Good.
What? Wait, what did you even say?
I said phrasing. Boom.
Phrasing. Boom. Yeah, of course. Of course. Thanks, Slyh. That's the second time today I've had bad phrasing. I don't even know what I said, honestly.
It can be really hard.
Oh, come on.
That was too simple.
Yeah, it was so simple it wasn't even worth mentioning. Come on, Slyh.
All right, I'll take that one back. Fine.
All right. Fair enough. All right. You got the first. Now I regret giving you the first question because you're the one who made me say that. Anyway, I'm gonna grab the next question. Let's see here. Teague's question: how do you feel about the raid meta currently being heavily DPS centric rather than the utility of the jobs themselves? I don't think that's entirely true. I think it depends on what you consider utility. Because, for example, Ninja with, what's it called? Shadewalker with Smokescreen. It made a lot of things possible in A3 Savage for our group. Without those specific utilities, our approach to the beginning of the fight wasn't possible. Now, of course, then that still comes into the issue of, what jobs are worth bringing to the raid and people's opinions on what jobs aren't worth bringing to the raid. And it's a really hard balance to come up with because most of the utility decisions that are appreciated are in the favor of increasing raid DPS. It's very rarely in making the fight easier outside of perhaps a scholar or a tank specific utility that reduces damage going. I think that part of that is in the job design itself. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, but what the biggest thing for me is that, yes, your healers and your tanks are probably going to have to try and output a little bit more DPS if you're going through Savage. I mean, I feel like that's at least fair for them to try and put out a little bit more. With the gear that we have now, unless you're really pushing for like a really fast A4 Savage clear, it's not like it needs to be as perfect as the people who you've been seeing clear it or the stories you've been hearing. It doesn't need to be at that level of perfect. And you can kind of stick to your role a little bit more than the groups that were doing it on like week 2 and week 3 did. So I agree it's a little bit too DPS centric. They could increase the mechanics that specifically have to deal with healing or with some sort of specific tank interaction. A3 Savage did a very good job at this while also being a massive DPS check. So I think that they could improve that functionality in the future and even make utilities, especially ones like Black Mages and Bards, a little bit more useful, meaning things like Lethargy, Shadowbind.
You don't think they're useful as is?
They are, but not to the degree that they could be. And it took a really long time and a lot of very specific circumstances. Like, think about that. Yeah, like Lethargy is good in A3 Savage, right? Mm-hmm. You can slow the ads, because you're not going to stop against Blizzard 1. Shadowbind, not so much. Blunt Arrow, very common use. But you look at some fights and it's pretty much just, how do I reduce the damage that everyone takes? How do I increase the damage everyone else takes? Most other utilities, cool, it works. But I'm not going to waste my time on it because it's a DPS loss. Faint.
Who the fuck uses it? Yeah, I know.
You know, it actually works in A2 Savage on a lot of the mobs.
I wouldn't know because I'm in the R2 bag. I'm so glad. Oh, wait, it's reset. I have to do that shit over again. Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad I'm out of that fucking bullshit.
What do you mean? You got to go back tonight.
That's what I just said.
I know, and then next week. And you're going to be in the Gobwalker every time.
Right. Living the dream. But yeah, I honestly think that, everything has pretty utility. It's all about how you use it. Now let me kind of backtrack and kind of ask you the question, going back to the previous question. Did anything kind of make you think about the composition of the group and in terms of utility? Like, did it kind of make you go back and say we need to move some parts around, or can we switch things like that?
So a lot of the things that I don't ever talk about with A3 Savage is that for 4 days straight we changed our composition every day to find what worked best for us. And obviously that's a really hard thing to do for most players. Not every player has the flexibility of being able to play multiple jobs at the maximum level and still being geared out. But this was before weapons came out, so it was at least a little bit easier to do. You could be full I-180. If it was something like Bard and Machinist, you could have the exact same gear, and it'd just be down to a matter of how well you played. Ultimately, every decision we made was to increase DPS, because we were going for a week 2 kill. So it's a little bit of a skewed perspective. People forget that Paladin can make A3 Savage a whole lot easier for different reasons than, say, a Dark Knight, which has been the great stigma that I feel has been lost amongst a lot of people, with a lot of, classist kind of thing going on. No, we don't want a Paladin. Everyone, those other groups use the Dark Knight, so we'll use it. Like, as opposed to embracing what a job's utility actually is. Paladin is a great job. Let me just say that right now. As much as I give it flack because I don't like playing it, or I didn't like playing it, it is a great job. Monk is a good job. I didn't say great because it's, honestly, I feel like it's got some design issues right now. It's just you gotta use what you got. Don't ignore those things because people say, oh, it's just a skill, whatever. I'm not gonna Shade Walker this attack because the healer's got me. No, make it easier on the healer. Use your mantra as a monk. Make it easier on the healer. Use everything at your disposal if it's applicable, and play your job to the maximum. No matter what you are, you should be useful. Sly smirk on the monk comment. He's like, damn right. Damn right.
I was hoping y'all didn't notice that. Sorry. That's why that's why I just stayed silent. I was just hoping y'all didn't notice that.
I noticed it.
All right. I think it is my go round.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you turning a question around on me doesn't count as your turn, unfortunately.
Okay, Adakina asks, I just finished A4 regular. I slow boxed it, but do you think by the time A5 plus, I guess that's the next tier, Alexander, comes out, they will have acceptable other ways to get armor to help us get into the newer tier? Or will A1 through 4 armor still be acceptable? I think we're going to get better armor. We'll definitely have better armor by the time we get there, but yeah, I think they'll give us the tools to kind of, because Coil scaled up every time, so you needed better armor as you got into the different parts of Coil. So yeah, I think there will be new armor. Now, the better ways to get it, I don't know if I call it better, because I'm okay with the system we have now. Like, I really don't see, unless happy, I really don't see a way to kind of make it better.
Well, okay, so what I think for A5 through A8 normal is going to be equivalent to A1 through 4 Savage gear. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that way you have 2 options of I210 gear. At least you have 3 options, and Esoterics is a more easily obtainable one because Esoterics will be uncapped at that point. That's the only thing kind of holding me back from thinking that, is that if esoterics are uncapped and Alexander Normal is weekly capped, what is the relevance? What is the point in going and trying to get your weekly loot all the time? So if that doesn't end up being the case, I have a feeling it is going to be almost the exact same situation, minus the fact that we'll have upgradable relics at that point, which will help clear the gap. At least maybe some people don't consider going for the weapon right away for whatever reason. The more likely scenario is we'll have normal, we'll have 2 weeks of normal, we'll have a new weekly capped, or we'll have a new esoteric, or a new tombstone type, and that'll be what we got. Like, I don't know, maybe A5 through 8 will be I-220, and it'll go up to I-240 for Savage, just so it's almost exactly like this one. It's hard to tell. I think that between the odd numbered patches is going to be a lot easier for people. I think you're going to have a ton of options at that point, but the gearing up process is probably going to be just very similar, just based on the way they did in Realm Reborn. I would love a surprise. I would love a curveball. I don't always expect a curveball, though, so I think it's going to be very similar in the future. All right, that would be, let's see what we got here. Where do we go? I want to grab a question that's like broader than something job specific.
Okay.
Like we have a lot of questions here, like specifically. I ever since I mentioned Paladin, I'm seeing a lot of that in the chat. I'm gonna take this one. Mr. Happy, what are you and Sly's overall thoughts on the new 24-man raid? I think this is a nice quick one. I have no idea yet, because we've literally seen a picture.
Yeah, that's all we've seen is just a picture of the exterior. We don't know what the interior looks like. I mean, it must be... God damn it, I'm setting myself up for my own phrasing. It must be huge as fuck. Phrasing. Boom. It has to be huge on the inside. Again, phrasing. Boom. But we just don't know anything about it. We've just seen the outside, but it looks extraordinary. And eventually, and Happy and Ethis hate this, but eventually it's going to take us to the moon.
It's not taking us to the moon.
It's going to take us to the moon,
as much as I give Ethis shit about that, we're not going to the moon.
It's going to take us to the moon.
We're not going to the moon.
It's an arc. It's an arc. What does an arc do? It takes you places.
Okay, so first of all, now that we're on this topic, I didn't get to be on any of those lore shows for like a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, the Void Arc wasn't brought up, but I'm sure Ethis will have plenty to say about it. Once we have more information, because we had him on the episode after the Void Arc. I'd like to just point something out, that it's called the Void Arc, and the exploratory group is called Noah. I just like to point that out right off the bat, which is already funny. Second, the Ark in, Noah's, so, 2 of each animal carry to survive a great flood. And they didn't go to the fucking moon.
You're making it biblical. Okay, I'm ready for this. Go ahead.
They made it biblical when they made the Void Ark and Noah. They made it biblical at that point. All right, that's not a coincidence. Okay, I refuse to accept that that's a coincidence. But like it was meant to like Ethis was speaking about in his Void Ark lore video, is that it was probably used to save people. Like it was probably used as a means to avoid an apocalypse. And I'm more of that mind. We're not going to the moon. The friggin' Void Ark, the friggin' Ark that Noah's on, didn't take 2 animals each to the moon, Sly.
If it was meant to save us from an apocalypse,
it meant to save
on a Ortia,
not us.
World.
It was meant to save whoever used it before.
But we don't know who used it.
How we know who used them?
Okay,
I'm sure we know. Sly. All right, Sly, you got the next one. Sly, you got the next one.
Okay, yeah, we're done talking about the moon arc. Anyway, let's just see.
I'm gonna fight Jesus.
We're gonna fight Jesus. We're gonna fight Jesus Christ.
Yes, Jesus.
There
Christ.
we go. There we go. Good one, Swift. Okay, Sly, I think the new FC airship raid is feeling like it might be similar to the dreaded Apexis grinding zones that are burning WoW subs away. Do you think it? might hurt having something similar. Well, I don't think it. Okay, again, never really done WoW. Hap's the person who can probably like draw the bigger comparison.
Didn't play the most recent expansion.
Okay, so I don't think it'll hurt. I think it's, and I've told people this in my stream, I think this is something that really is needed. FC interaction is something that is truly lacking in the game right now. And I think this, and I hate to say it, gives us an excuse to kind of interact with our FC, but that's kind of what it is. Because really any FC interaction stuff is very minimal, if not like you don't see any at all. And a lot of FCs are, there are quite a few FCs who are, you know, tight, even though there's not any kind of experience like this. And then there are some who are FCs that really just don't do much aside from either raid together or some don't raid at all because they have their own, each person in the FC has their own individual static. This I think is a good idea because it brings FCs together. It gives y'all something to do as an FC. You spend more time with the FC. You grow as an FC. And it's kind of like a team building exercise, if I could describe it. Happy, what do you think?
I would compare it more to Dynamis of Final Fantasy XIV, where not just the concept of grinding extremely powerful monsters. Of course, they're integrating gatherers into it as well, so people who are more into gathering at least have. I said more into it, not leveling botanist. Sly.
My miner 60, damn it! Shut up.
Miner 60. What kind of gear? What kind of gear has it got?
It's got the. It's not materia melted, and I have the materia. I just need to get it melted and get more materia. It will be materia melted gear.
You ain't got no red script stuff yet?
No.
Yeah, that's not enough. Anyway, maybe. I actually don't know. We'll see, though.
We'll see.
But yeah, almost more akin to that, where you go in. It's not about a big boss with super fancy mechanics. It's about mobs that, if not controlled properly, will run around and murder everyone. They're strong. They're strong to the point where you can't send your paladin through 20 mobs and just heal him through it. He's gonna die. Like, you got to break up into groups, take on things in just a different way, just more interesting, open world mob type mechanics. And then you got the gatherers that are involved there too. I do agree that it is pretty much just there to try and get free companies to work together. My concern is the rewards.
My second concern is the scale. Like, how does it scale to the size of the FC? Because some FCs are small, some FCs are like really huge. So does it like do these exploratory voyages kind of scale like to the FC? It remains to be seen. We don't know. Yeah, how will it treat that? How will it treat smaller FCs is what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I want to see the whole airship feature where you can go if you're not even in a free company, because that'll probably be more relevant even to just smaller free companies than just the people who don't have one at all. All right. So, you just got the last question, right? That was yours. That was yours. All right, so next question. I'm going to take this one off Twitter from Carlos Hernandez. What are your thoughts on the underwhelming nature of raids? I'm not talking mechanics. I'm talking about scale. Let's talk about scale, Sly. Like training? Get it? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Terrible.
I think that the only issue I have with the scale is that they're all separated. And don't get me wrong, there's pros and cons to both of them, to having them separated versus having them together. The pro of having them together is it feels more like a raid. It feels more like an adventure as opposed to being sectioned off every time you defeat a boss to go to a lobby area to recollect yourself. And then the benefit to that as well is that it's easier to, well, section the bosses off, make their encounters a little bit more meaningful. Like when you enter, you feel like, okay, this boss is this place. Like I will take this place over. Not, all right, well, I cleared the first boss of wing 1 of 4 out of 5 wings and no one gives a shit. Right? Like, every boss is more meaningful that way, and it's, like I said, easier to section them off and do things with weekly loot tables or weekly loot restrictions.
So go ahead.
No. Go.
Do you think, like, upping the scale kind of to what a raid is in WoW would make that more difficult in terms of, like, the whole loot table and everything? Do you think? Because, I mean, like, while I do like the raid now, the way the raids are set up now, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a kind of larger scale raid. I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind it either, and I'm kind of hoping that if the airship voyage areas are to that scale, are of a large scale, that they're enjoyable in such a way that, like, I can feel like I can run through, and almost like the Crystal Tower to me had a grand scale. It was what I wish raids could be, but outside of the Duty Finder just being trollololo laughable, which is the only way it made bosses rememberable, it wasn't grand. It took away from how grand it was, just walking through and being like, hey, we beat it before the second jump. Cool. I don't know. I would like it, but if it means giving up things that, you know, make the development team, that make it easier on the development team, which then pushes back content, I'm not okay with it. I've dealt with it this long. I've enjoyed it thus far, and I also feel like maybe it makes the story elements a little bit more dramatic when they want to deal with those as well. Ultimately, we just want to kill bosses. Until they have meaningful trash, I don't care. When they have meaningful trash, sure, go make it a grander scale. Until then, keep doing it the way you're doing it in Savage. It's my opinion.
Okay. I will actually grab another question off of Twitter. Castlove25 asks, what other collab events like Dragon Quest / Lightning Returns would you like to see in Final Fantasy XIV? That's simple for me. I've said this once, I'll say it like again.
Just say it.
Bring Class 0 and Eorzea, please. Bring them all in.
Why don't we have Class 14?
Really?
Oh, come on, like they wouldn't do it.
They could. Why would they?
They just make that shit up.
Class 14? Class 14 would be laughable. Class 0 is the highest rank any other class.
And that could be the whole point.
Joke. It would be a joke.
But that could be the whole point. It could be like Hildebrand, where they suck, and you gotta help.
So, like, people from Class 0 would be helping Class 14? I don't know. Yeah, that's my answer. I mean, time and time again, I've said it. Bring Class 0 in. I don't know how they'll do like the Eidolons and stuff, but just bring Class 0. Bring 9. Especially bring Cater.
You know what I think the next one's gonna be? Remember, what's the name of that like new Pokemon craze in Japan? The one with the cat. Remember they had the little cat on with the helmet, the bucket helmet. Somebody's gonna remember in the chat by the time the stream delay catches up.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
It's basically like the new Pokemon in Japan. I'm almost positive that's going to be the next collaboration event. Because they said they're already in the works for the next collaboration event. And Level 5 studio, Yokai Watch. There you go. Yeah. I'm almost positive that's going to be the next one. it's going to happen. I'm telling you. Especially with Lords of Verminion coming out, they're going to want a Yokai Watch minion to be able to do that. I'm calling it right now. Monster Hunter. No, not Monster Hunter. Not quite. All right, I'm gonna grab another question from Twitter as well. This is a simple one. Where do I go to get Alex?
Where do I go to get? Count this question?
No, I don't think I do. Where do you go to get Alexander Savage? Wandering Minstrel. Beat Alexander 4. Beat Ultima's Ballad. Wandering Minstrel. Done.
We're done.
All right, let's look for a full blown question here. Let's see. I gotta scroll up a little bit. All right, let's see. Gerd. All right, any other job balance issues you want addressed? Before it was all about Astros. We got Astro buffs. Don't you think Astro hate might have been overshadowed? Might have overshadowed issues of the other job. I think every issue of every job was very much spoken about over the course of the last, like, what has it been, 10 weeks now since the expansion came out?
Yeah.
Something like that. No, sorry, 8 weeks. I think that there's still some glaring issues that need working on. They addressed Dark Knight's TP, which was a big one for me. They also made the aura less annoying. Thank you. Thank you. Machinist, a little bit more fun to play. Astro, I still think Astro needs a little bit more. Like, just a small push. Like, buff 1 or 2 more things. Just to make him a little bit more fun to play. And I think Paladin. I think Paladin could use a little bit of a deeps push. That's it. Just a little bit. They don't need to be on par with the other two. Just a small deeps push. Just give them, like, 25 more potency on Sword Oath or something. I don't know. What about you, Sly? Any jobs that just suck?
Astro was the only one they had kind of addressed. I mean, really, no. Don't touch. I wouldn't even touch gatherers and everything. That doesn't even really count. No, I'm content. Don't touch anything else. Like, don't touch my goon, especially.
Don't touch his goon.
No.
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yes, I do.
Don't touch my goon.
Don't touch my goon. Don't do anything to it. It's fine. I'm content. Until we start having problems in later patches, I'm fine.
All right. Well, okay, I forgot that was the question I picked. You're up.
Yeah. I had to scroll up and see.
We have some new questions here at the bottom as well.
Okay, perfect.
Don't forget, guys, you can tweet at DreamNetTV with the hashtag SOTR if you want to get a question on Twitter. Don't forget.
Do you think the current drop rates off of monsters in the Heavenward zones is appropriate, or should it be increased? Okay, I can attest to farming Fleece from Chimera and Az's Law. It can be kind of ridiculous sometimes. But do I think they should increase it? Maybe a little. Just a little, not too much. Yeah, the way when I was farming Fleece in Chimerical Fleece in Az's Law, yeah, it took me.
I'm sure you had fun with that.
Oh God, like luckily I had USMC come help me for a little bit, but damn, did that take like. I was trying to get like maybe 35, and it took at least 45 minutes to do that. So yeah, I would definitely want a little bit of an increased drop rate on items in Heaven's Ward areas. What about you?
I mean, I get why they did it, and I think it's actually a good design to have some rarer items. That way there's items of value for people that don't craft or don't gather. You know, that's without a doubt the entire point. The problem is then when you make those items available through things like maps, and people don't. Then there are people like, well, I'll just hope I get them off a map. I'm not going to bother doing this out in the open world. I think it's fine. I think that they need to have some items that just come from mobs, or they don't introduce them to maps or anything like that till way later on, because it would be nice to have more markets available for non-crafters and gatherers. I know that's always just going to come from monster drops. It'd be nice to have more of that. Just needs to be more meaningful in such a way.
Right.
All right. I'm going to take a question from Twitter, which is, I think, let's see. We've had a total of 5 questions from Twitter.
Yeah, and that one's going back to one of your earlier statements, so please.
Yes. What did Happy mean by monks have design problems right now? Mm-hmm. So, monks do good DPS.
Yeah. I'll admit that. I have no problem with them. Love y'all.
Okay. That's what they do. Great. Okay, that's it. Like,
really?
here's the thing. Dragon Kick is good if you don't have a Dark Knight. The problem with Dragon Kick is that the blunt resistance is mostly just a personal DPS buff you're going to keep up anyway.
But
whereas,
okay, go ahead.
Like that's the problem I have is the blunt resistance thing is affects monks only at this point. It would have been nice to, and don't give me the freaking black mage auto attack bullshit. All right,
I'm not.
It would have been nice to have that be a more meaningful raid, a utility outside of just the int, or to separate it into something else. It's just the fact that it's.
But you don't consider their AOE like utility, as opposed to like okay,
it's good for a melee.
Between the two melees, you don't.
Two?
Yeah, like between...
Two?
Sorry.
It's okay, Ninja AoE is non-existent.
Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Between the two melees that actually have AoE, wouldn't you think they have more utility in a raid?
If you need AoE, which is what, one fight? And that's like the first fight since like God knows how long that it's been like a super good, like, yeah, AoE, yeah. Mantra, don't get me wrong, I'll never say 25% healing is bad. I'll just say that we all these
healers beg for mantra all the time.
Yeah, and guess what? Most of the time your heals are so calculated to the point where a mantra doesn't even save you a cast. It does if you crit. If you crit with a mantra, you're pretty much golden.
Well, which would you prefer, a ninja mantra or a monk mantra?
If I had to choose between the two, a monk mantra.
Okay.
But it's perfectly survivable with a ninja mantra, and ninjas then got goad, TP for a party member. It's then got got smokescreen and shadewalker, which people laugh at, but that was a big deal for us back when we were practicing A3 Savage. If they got trick attack, which increases raid wide DPS 10% for 10 seconds, they have so much more built into their job that and same with Dragoon having battle litany and having disembowel, which affects bard and machinist DPS. It's not even like they messed up with monk; they just did too good with the other jobs. And giving them so much more.
So there's a balancing issue.
There's a balancing issue. On top of that, almost all the new abilities, all the buffs they gave to Monk outside of the 3% on Grease Lightning, didn't change the job. Like, it didn't give them any more of that utility. All they did was say, hey, here's 20 seconds less on Tornado Kick, which we'll never use every 40 seconds anyway. Make meditation a little bit less annoying to use. And I don't even remember what the other change was. That's pretty much it. The only major benefit I'd say they have is they have an extra 200 TP built into their kit if they're not using it for Forbidden Chakra, which I guess I'd have to ask a monk when they're saving it. I would just like to see it be more than, do you need Dragon Kick? No? Bye. Like, that's the problem I have with it, is that if you don't need Dragon Kick, people are just quick to throw it away. I'm not quick to throw away a monk. But people are quick to throw away a monk. I don't give a crap. We'll beat the fight with whatever. So, I just want to see monk stop getting ragged on. And part of that is just they made the utility of the other two jobs, melee jobs, too good, in my opinion.
So it's my turn, isn't it?
It is your turn.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember. Do you think, and this is from Shinlong Firesend, what's up? Do you think they could get away from increasing Paladin's DPS if they were to buff it from the other side? An example, buff its defensive buffs, allowing healers more freedom to DPS and such. But what about them deeps? That's
what about them deeps?
What about them deeps, though? I mean, in comparison to Warriors and Dark Knights, I wouldn't mind.
Let's be clear, a Dark Knight is not so incredibly far ahead of an off-tank Dark Knight.
It's not far ahead, but it's still ahead, period.
Yeah, it's still ahead.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I would just want there to be a little bit of, I would say, the competition, maybe, in terms of DPS, in terms of tanks. I would love for it to kind of level the playing field. I actually want them to kind of level the playing field with Paladin DPS. It may sound wrong of me, even though I don't tank. Again, couldn't hold hate if I was Hitler. Yeah, I just want them to level the playing field. I've seen a lot of Paladins out there who do really good DPS, but in comparison to Dark Knights and Warriors especially, you just don't see it. You don't really see it. So
I just want to be clear here about this whole Paladin thing.
Okay.
Anyone who says that Paladin is like 600 DPS below the other two is incredibly wrong. They are hovering around 200 behind Warrior. If in completely I'm talking about both off tanks, like completely off tank. Warrior main tank is just so good. And they're really they're only like 25 to 50 behind a Dark Knight. If we're talking about pure off tank DPS, it's mostly main tank DPS that needs a boost. And I think that Sword Oath being a little stronger would be okay, because Dark Knights very often tank without grit.
Right.
They have a built-in permanent 10% or 15% damage boost with Dark Side. Then you have warriors. Don't say anything else. That doesn't nothing. So so I actually like the idea of this fantasy of making paladins even better defensively. The problem
here's, fantasy.
Here's the problem though. People already hate the idea of healers DPSing. Is this even really a solution? For me, I don't ask me, Sly. I'm just saying, giving them more defense to just for the pure sake of giving healers more time in DPS is not a valid solution when the community is split down the middle on whether or not that's an acceptable thing. That pretty much just pushes it more in the direction, more in one direction than the other. So, I think the easiest thing is to just buff Sword Oath. That would probably be I think buffing the personal DPS is the better solution. It doesn't say, hey, we want healers to be out there DPSing, but it doesn't say, hey, don't do it. Yeah. It just gives a paladin a little bit more breathing room, and only when in Sword Oath. That's the big thing here. We're only talking about DPS while they are actually in Sword Oath. So Shield Oath DPS is god-awful. Horrible. Something so they stop getting ridiculed for that. They don't need to bring it up to Warriors level. Then again, you can't bring anything up to Warriors level because it's a Warrior. Let's be real here. That was your question, right?
That was my question.
Damn, that was a long answer. We still got a few answers left, those guys. Remember, this is going to be a short show tonight. We're not going to do this for 2 hours or anything. So we're going to grab a few more questions each, and then we will call a show. Unless, of course, these questions take forever long. I was about to say forever long. Sly, will you do the show forever long?
Yes, I will do the show forever long. Racing.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Let's see. We have one on Twitter, but I might want to save that, and I don't know if Sly wants to take it. I want to make sure that...
Yeah, well, I think we could save that for post.
Oh, yeah. I just saw that it was posted. Okay, yeah, good call. Yeah. Let me see here. I got to scroll up a little bit. As you can see, I'm looking for a question.
Yeah. Come on, give us a question. Ask us something. Damn it.
They're busy having discussions like crazy in the chat.
Yeah. The debate is real. Embrace debate. Hashtag.
Why is that a hashtag?
It is a hashtag. Don't use that hashtag. That is for First Take on ESPN. Don't use that hashtag.
They're gonna be. That's like don't step on the grass, Sly. You know what you just did.
Yeah, I did. I don't want the mothership contacting me and saying you use our hashtag. No, don't use it, please.
How would you guys make a battle that lessens reliance on DPS checks? That's a really hard thing to do. Yeah. No matter what, if you lessen DPS checks, you have to increase gear checks, which is the problem. And while at the same time implementing healer intense mechanics. Like, for example, A3 Savage could have very well been a no healer fight where or a no healer DPS fight. If you had 2 Digitiduses from the start, your healers would have never been able to DPS. They literally would have been able to implement stronger healing checks there. But that means they have to increase the gear check to make up for the fact that you now have to account for 2 less jobs than were DPSing before. No longer DPSing. They say these fights are designed with a certain item level in mind so that healers don't need to contribute that much DPS. Anyone who's going in there so early is doing DPS things. It pretty much has to be all around everything. It needs to be a DPS check. No matter what, it has to be. It needs to force healers to be healing over DPSing, and needs to force tanks to be tanking instead of throwing out more DPS. And they've already gone out of their way to give all these jobs tools to do DPS. So it's such a difficult balance to find. It's not as simple as people think, just add a healing mechanic. Just add another tank mechanic. It's everything coming together and making it so the fight, you don't just roll over it because, yeah, I play tank well. I play healer well. It needs to be more than that.
I have to agree with him on a few extents. Yeah, one, I don't like even though it's kind of a necessary evil, I don't like the idea of a gear gate or a gear check. You should be able to do it with, reasonable gear. you don't want to do Savage with Law gear. Let's be kind of honest. Like, even though that challenge would be welcome, I know people are going to try to do that shit eventually. But yeah, you don't want to do it. I don't like the idea of a gear check. So, I mean, DPS checks are a necessary evil. Healer checks. I mean, the thing is, you got to find, in terms of battle design, and I'm not Gandai. I am not Gandai in any shape of the imagination. The man's a genius, even though he punishes us like hell. Like, I think he takes all his frustrations out on us by designing this terrible shit that we do. So I couldn't be in that position because, like, everything balances each other out without having kind of a small gear check and then a DPS check and healer check. Like, if one of those is off whack, the fight could be relatively easier. It could be more difficult. So, really, you just have to keep it balanced. Again, not Gondai. I don't envy the man. I don't envy him.
How many things are you not when you point at yourself? Everything.
Everything. Yeah, but I'm not Gondai. I can't speak on it. We're
right.
Either one of us aren't Gondai.
I mean, I could find a way. Maybe.
Really?
I don't know. It's your question, by the way.
It is.
Now it is. I mean, that was mine.
Oh, okay.
So it's yours.
Okay. Hero No DJ asked on Twitter, so what do you think of the price of Gatherer gear, which is damn expensive in a lot of servers? I can't speak on this because I have something called the United Negro Miner Fund.
Oh my god, you're a beggar, Sly. Just
I'm
say
not a
it.
beggar.
You're
I'm
a
not
beggar.
No, people give these shits to me. I don't beg. I don't.
When you make a fund, and
okay. The gear I have that's not material melted, I went out and bought the mats for it. I just gave it to my friend to craft.
Which is fine.
Okay, thank you. So I didn't beg for the gear, but
But did you beg for the guild to get the gear? To get the items?
No. Retainer. I did. Retainer. Boom.
Your retainer just had gil? Like it just fabricated gil?
I've been selling shit, damn it.
Alright. Fair enough. It is if you just want to take a shortcut, which a lot of people do in games nowadays. It's expensive. The other option is to put time into your crafters and gatherers simultaneously. Learn to play them both, maximize, get all the materials, and just make a bunch of bank to all the people who just want to go out and buy it. I mean, and there's literally just the fact that you could just go make money to get it. I mean, yeah, is it expensive altogether? Yeah, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny, but you don't have to go out and buy it. There are in-game options.
Wait, hang on. Define a pretty penny. Like, what is a pretty penny in Mr. Happy's eye? Because you might have a different idea.
It's a penny from this year. It's very pretty.
You know what I mean?
I mean, just compared to how much gil people normally have. Like, to me, honestly, it's breadcrumbs.
Yeah, it's a drop in the fucking bucket for him. Whereas, I'm
But I'm talking about your standard player. It's a pretty penny. I mean, you go and you try to buy a full set. A lot of those pieces on a lot of servers run anywhere from 50 to 100K. And not everyone knows how to make gil, or not everyone utilizes the tools they have available to make gil, and just runs with the whatever they can possibly find. So for those people, yeah. But I mean, then that's a sign that maybe you want to look into other parts of the game, into making sure you don't have to deal with you don't have to deal with buying gear off the market board, or that you have some sort of reliable fountain of gil that, even if it's not a lot, it at least accrues over time. So
I'm broke because of pots and food. Like, I didn't have to use these shits because I was in 82 all this time. So
in New Jersey, that's very normal.
I
saw an opportunity.
Yeah, you took it. Good job. Good job.
You're
But yeah,
welcome.
like now that I'm out of A2, I actually have to buy food again in pots and everything. So that's why I was broke. That's mainly the reason why I'm normally third world, sitting under a mill because pots and food. See, now you got me saying that shit. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I know going there.
Oh yeah, the difference is when you
man.
smirk, sometimes you don't laugh. When I smirk, I start laughing.
You start laughing and I can hear it. Oh god.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna say that this is gonna be the last set of questions because it's probably take us about 5 minutes to get through 2 more. So the show's gonna be about an hour total. No length. I mean, it's still really not that short. Like you think about it, it's short because we like to never shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Like if it was like if Sly and I could go, it would probably be a 14-hour show.
We could do that.
No, we can't.
Well,
Anyway,
we would do a minion hunt and everything. We can do
exactly.
what the devs do.
I'll race Sly to get 50 minions. There we go.
Yep, there we go.
And I'll win because I'm gonna buy them all. Anyway,
That there's a rule against that ass, but go.
I got Gil. Anyway, Akashua's question, Mr. Abby, would you buy and play an expansion that was solely based on a class, or would you wait for a regular expansion? I don't know what that means. That doesn't sound like an expansion. That just sounds like a patch, which I'm already paying for with my subscription money. Anyway, 2.4, yeah, it wasn't just a class, but I mean that just sounds like a class being implemented between expansions. And that's too small to define as an expansion. That's literally DLC. That's literally DLC or a patch. An expansion is a large addition to the game. A new job could be defined as a large addition, but that's not something everyone's going to utilize. Like, it's not really an expansion. If I'm playing the game and they release a new job, hey, I did. It's Ninja. I made it my main. So yeah, I guess I already did do that once.
Yeah. I mean, eventually I'll do that with Samurai.
Hold on, my earbuds dropped out. Because I pulled one of them out because my ear was hurting. There we go. All right. Oh, Sly, you can't even see me struggling right here. There we go.
I can't.
It's all right, Sly. Yeah, and then someone said they charge $50 for a new class. Yeah, fuck that. That's not an expansion. That's ripping people off, is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this will probably be the last question.
Sorry about that.
Oh. And see, y'all can't see, but I can't see Mike. So
yeah, he can't see me.
Thank you, John Cena. And his name is John Cena.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Yeah, oh my, I didn't even realize what you meant by that.
Sorry.
You can't see.
Okay. So I guess this will be the last question. Do you think the black cat, and this is from Dead Ishimura, do you think the black cat in Alexander will have any significance to his story? Well, we are getting Kashif in Void Arc, correct?
Yeah, but that's not the same as the black cat from.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say no.
That's it. Just no.
No, it's just a cat.
I guarantee you that cat ends up being the mastermind.
We're gonna fight the cat.
No. The cat's gonna be the mastermind. I didn't say we're gonna fight the cat. It's gonna get in the, well, maybe it'll get a giant gob cat.
I think it's comic relief. The cat's gonna eventually do something stupid after you clear floor of Alexander in like a cutscene, but that's it. I think it's just comic relief.
But the goblins overall are comic relief.
Yeah, they are.
The world's gonna end. Hey, we're funny. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. All right, Sly. I think we had a pretty good show. I think we salvaged what nothing we had and turned it into. At least we got to hang with you guys.
We're honest. The thing about it, we're honest. We let you know we have nothing.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, honesty is the
best policy.
Yeah, honesty is the best policy. But when you tell people at the start of the show, yeah, we don't have anything to talk about, it's probably not the best way to start a show. If you think about it from like a production standpoint, that's probably not the greatest thing. But
good production value.
Yeah, great, fantastic.
Great game talk.
Great game. It's all about the games. So, on that note, we are going to wrap up the show. Again, apologies for the short show, but got some things that got to get done. So, anyway, why don't we do our sign-off where I remember what my name is? Sly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that sounds like a good idea this week. For me to remember what my name is, I'm gonna have to. I practiced really hard for this. Okay, but the problem is you got to go first, so it's gonna throw off my mojo. Sly, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, my friend?
You can find me at Slyh, aka Greyfox. Well, twitch.tv/Slyh, aka Greyfox, where Margaret is back because PC is back. So Deepbot's back, Margaret's back, the old overlay's back. I'm not streaming from PS4 anymore. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You can find me on Twitter at Slythefox. You can find me on Instagram at Slyh, aka Greyfox07. You can find me in Behemoth and Plot 14, Ward 5 of the Lavender Beds, home to the Foxhound FC. Best wings and beer in New York here. Boom. I'd say he want me in a script club. I was like, ain't nothing wrong with going to a script club. Ain't no sin going to a script club.
I just had to leave the camera on you just for that. Right. Anyway.
All right, let's see it. Come on.
I'm your other host, Mr. Happy from Space. You can find me pretty much everything other than YouTube, Mr. Happy127, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. And then on YouTube, it's Xehanort1227. But if you were just go to Google and type in Mr. Happy127, it would take you there. So that could work. So on that note, we are going to wrap it up, go over to post-show for a little bit, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Next week, we will hopefully have something.
Fingers crossed!
Fingers crossed. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Okay, bye.